Welcome everyone to today's podcast. My name is Paul. I'm in Peterborough in Scotland. I'm very pleased to be joined today by Ghilene.
Hi everybody, I'm Silana from the Netherlands.
Welcome. Thanks so much for your time today. We're going to be talking about sobriety, staying clean in the solution, how we find a new life through this process, this program. So if you're new or if you're not new, please check out the other podcasts on the channel. There's podcasts in each of the steps. There is about 20 personal stories. There's one on the spiritual malady, the ABCs of addiction. There's podcasts on the traditions. There's all kinds of content here. So please feel free to subscribe and share and encourage others to get involved. If you're new or you want to get involved in the conversation, wherever you see this posted, feel free to comment and we will get back to you. If you're new and perhaps you're still drinking and drugging, keep an eye on the screen. Bear in mind you can pause and rewind this podcast whenever you like, or fast forward it, and you can also send it to other people by social media. Also, there'll be information posted about how to get to face-to-face meetings, how to get to online meetings, and also be some information about literature. So it's a lovely morning here in Scotland. I'm really pleased to be here. I'm glad to be clean. I am a recovered addict. And without further ado, I'm really thankful that the lovely Ghilene has come along today to share with us her story of hope and freedom. So without further ado, it's over to you.
Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you for the introduction. Hi everybody, I'm Selena. I'm a grateful addict, a recovering addict from the Netherlands. Where to start? It's such a beautiful program for me. It's been for me like really a heaven since I met this program. When I started doing it, I was just so blessed, and I don't get blessed in my addiction. When I was in my addiction, I just start really like, okay, God. Everybody was talking about the big book. I was talking about God, and I said, God, not for me, because my mind was still in illusions and delusions, and I couldn't see anything from my addiction and anything further from that. But I didn't have to. I just had to do it one day at a time. And that one day at a time was for me the solution. Was for me the solution to maintain sobriety and just to do my steps. When I did my steps and I did my first step, I had to cross my mental thoughts to the ground and put in a good foundation and put in a good keystone for me, and the cornerstone has to be perfect for me. Because if I don't do that every single day, then I will relapse. So when I get up every morning, I just pray before I step out of the bed. I do my prayers, and I pray to my higher power or God, whatever you prefer. I prefer God, and God is for me my higher power. When I started praying, I didn't believe, and I didn't believe that it was possible. But when I started to pray, I realized that everything was changing in my life. I became more positive in life. I didn't saw the negative anymore. So I was crushing really my thoughts and everything around it, and just seeing that it was possible for me to get out of my addiction, to get a sober life. And I'm so grateful for that, because when my sponsor told me that I had to cross everything I thought, that it wasn't real, that what I thought. It was real for me, but it wasn't really real. I had to cross everything, every single thought that I was thinking, oh, I'm going to do that. I had to do exact opposite of that. And that was the most important thing for me to do. The opposite, doing everything that I did. And that helped me. So I pray every morning. I do my meditation every morning. Then I go out of bed. Then I'm going to start my day. That's the first thing that I have to do every single day. If I don't do that, I don't feel good in my body anymore, and I don't feel good in my day. I have to do it to remind me where I'm at every single day. And when I do that, I just start my day off, and everything here in my living room and everywhere, I can pray every single time I feel a little bit yeah, if I feel not good inside of me, or I feel a little bit depressed or something like that, I pray and I see that things are changing every single day in my life. Also, just by praying. And I didn't believe that, but eventually I started to see that it was real because I was praying and my life was doing better. So I had to believe that it was my greater power that did that, and my God did that for me. And that was so beautiful. And then, of course, I went to meetings. I went to a lot of online meetings every single morning. I do a meeting for waking up, and every evening I do a meeting. Why do I do that? Because I have to remind myself that I'm an addict. And when I do that, I feel better. I feel connected to the people. They really understand me. Uh, the fellowship is really my second family because I have my own family, of course, and my brother and my sister and my mother and my father, but they don't understand my thinking because my thinking is different. And when I step into a meeting, it's like coming home, really. Just the same if you go to your mother and you're coming home and she's making me all kinds of stuff and bringing me tea and stuff. That's like coming home. The food from your mother is coming home. Well, for my sobriety, the fellowship is coming home. And that is just a warm feeling because no one's just is going to judge me for my crazy thinking. Really, I have a crazy thoughts sometimes, and I think, oh, I'm crazy, but I'm not. I'm just like the same everybody is in that room. That is so lovely. When I did my steps, and I went, of course, to step 2, my thinking was going to change. And I thought, yeah, there is a higher power, there is a God for me. Because I didn't believe it anymore. I was in a childhood, really young. I believe we went to church every single Sunday, and I did Sunday school as well. And I had to for my parents, but I really didn't want to. I was just a kid. I wanted to play, I wanted to do everything else but going to church. And that's I didn't believe in it so much as they did. But now I think I believe a little bit more than my father, and that is an accomplishment because my father is very Catholic. Um, and that's just what the program has taught me. The program has taught me that there is God in my life now. Because if I pray and if I do everything in my power to do the right thing, and in my what I can do in my for my own at the best thing that I can do. So my best um what I can do. Yeah, how do you say it? Really sorry, you guys. Like in my best capabilities to do everything that I want for everybody else, and not so much thinking about myself because I have a very big ego, and I had to crush that. And the prayers helped me with that. The steps helped me with that to help me see how big my ego was, and it was huge. It really was. I was always thinking about myself. I thought never about other people. I just thought about having my drugs and having my way, and my way was the only way. And that is, of course, so not good for me because I was so self-centered, and I saw that in my step 4. Well, because when I started to believe that there was a higher power, I did my step 4, and I started to see in my step 4 how selfish and how my thinking really was, and that everything I did was to get attention of people, to get to be loved by people because I wasn't loved. So when I started to doing that, I uh, I saw that my selfishness went slowly away in my step 5. I saw that everything was lifted, everything that I did to my sister or my brother, because they didn't get a lot of attention in our childhood because I'm epileptic as well, so I got a lot of attention from my mother. But when I didn't get a little bit of attention, because they had to get attention as well, because there were also my brother and my sister, I was just so manipulative that I would get the attention back from my mother. And that's so selfish because why can they not have any attention from my mother? They're also their their childs. And when I saw that in my step 4, I had to cry because I did that to my brother and my sister. And that's how I saw it. But I didn't do that. My addiction did that. And that's two different kind of things. And I was relieved that I saw it, relieved how my thinking was, because now I knew that every time when I think, I had to take those steps really with me every single day. If I'm going to do this, is this selfish what I'm doing? Yes or no? Because if I'm going out and I'm saying, yeah, I want to do this, is that really what is in my best interest to do? Or is it just a selfish action I'm doing again? And that's what I do every single day. Because if I don't do that, and if I don't do my 1, 2, 3, and 4 every single day, to see just where it is for me and where I'm at, it's important for me to see that. And the question is why? Why is it important for me to see it? It's important for me to see because if I don't remind myself about my thinking and was, how my thinking is, then I'm going to be selfish again. And when I'm selfish, I'm going to do horrible things. When I'm going to do horrible things, I'm going to get to the dealer or everywhere else, and I'm going to take again. And I don't want to do that because I have a beautiful life now. I was homeless. I went from a homeless shelter. I had really nothing anymore. Everything went to my drugs. I was only thinking about my drugs. When I stepped into the clinic, I still was thinking about the drugs. Every single day it went about the drugs and myself and nobody else. And I have a little girl, and also she went down under it because my drugs was more important than my family, than everybody else. It was more important for me than God, really, at that point. Now I'm thinking differently. And that's only because I'm doing the steps, only that I can see through my other fellows there was a solution for me. There was a new way of life for me. And when I realized that, I went from the homeless shelter uh, to an own apartment at the moment. And that's a big step because for me that's a big and a huge step. I was homeless and now I have an apartment of my own. I have a roof over my head. And I really just did praying every single day and just did my step work and my meetings, and then everything else just came. It just came to me. I didn't have to do manipulative things to people. No, it was just like it was handed over to me, and that was just like, well, that's not possible, but it is. I didn't think that it was possible for me that way, but it was because I was always thinking, no, God is not there for me, and He will not do that for me because I'm bad. Well, I'm not. I'm just a person, and a person can make mistakes. And a mistake, if you learn from your mistakes, you're not doing anything wrong because you're learning from them. So when I was thinking about that, and that was already in my recovery, I was saying, okay, so there is no right or wrong. There's just no wrong because when I'm starting to learn from it, then it's good again. So there is only good in life. So there is also only love in life. And God is for me love and acceptance and tolerance from other people. If I go outside and some people ignore me, I just do a little prayer in my head, and then I see the other side of it, because some people don't know the stuff that we do, and we're so blessed by the book and by the knowledge that we have at the moment about everything that Bill W. is talking about in our book, in our big book. It's just so amazing. So much love is there because we can realize how we are thinking and make changes for that. And I started to change all that. And when I changed, everything came clear to me. It was like a lift came off of me. I was talking to my sponsor and I just said, the world is changing. He said, no, the world is not changing. You are changing because you are seeing what it is you have to see. You're following the spirit, because the spirit, if I'm following the spirit every single day, then everything is going to be good, because I don't have to be in home and being sorry for myself. No, I'm just getting up, get outside, and see all the most beautiful things outside. People are laughing, children are playing, people are walking their dogs, there are birds in the sky. It's so beautiful outside. And when I'm just walking and just in the forest with my dog, and when I'm walking there, I see such beautiful things. And it's all because of our creator. That's how I believe it. And the creator did all that to see how beautiful the world is. And if some people are irritated, I just think, well, it's not me, it's them. Because if they are irritated, there probably is something in their life that they're not feeling good about. So I can talk to those people and maybe be a listening ear, stuff like that, because a lot of people are just lonely, and that's how I see it here. And if you just give some attention to some people, there will be, and what you get out of it is just they're saying, oh my God, thank you so much. And I was just saying, yeah, I was just listening here, nothing more. But it's just how we live with each other in this world is with love. And I can only crush everything with love, because love is the only thing that we can give to each other. And for me, that is just a better world. And for me, that is the way how I want to live. I don't want to live with fighting and with knocking up every single guy there is, or beating them out. No, I don't want to do that, because I don't feel good about myself then. So I just talk to people and make sure that I'm doing the right thing for me. And when I'm doing the right thing for me, I can help somebody. And when I'm helping somebody, of course I feel good. Maybe that's just a little bit selfish, but I don't think so. I just think if I can help people around the world just like me, and they have a beautiful life just like me, then the world is a little bit better. And just the way how I see it. And God is helping me with it every single day. Because I can say, well, God, it's your fault that you gave me epilepsy. No, it isn't his fault. He gave it to me. He gave to me that disease. Why? Because if I didn't have that disease, if I didn't was epileptic, well, I could use everything there was, really everything. And God never abandoned me. No, he was always there. I just only didn't listen to him. And when I started to listen to him and started to feel his spirit and be on that same page, just following him on that same road, it's just things are changing. And I can only say to a lot of newcomers and although there's people who don't believe in this shit or now at this that moment, because I didn't believe it as well. I had to see it for myself. So I had to do the steps. I had to go to a sponsor. I go to meetings. And when things are going to change, that is when everything in your life is changing, and it's so beautiful. So grab it if you want, do it if you want, because it's the most amazing thing in life that there is. You feel so much love from your fellows, from everybody around you. And it's such a blessing that I'm sitting here today, because if God didn't give me epileptic, I will be in a box already, because I could use everything. I could use then everything. Because I'm epileptic, I couldn't use everything. I couldn't use every single drugs. I couldn't use a speed. I couldn't use all kinds of other things. And that is for me my blessing that God gave to me. I see that now, because otherwise I would have been dead maybe. I don't know, but I could have used so much more, and other drugs as well. I wouldn't have lived it, because I was already overdosing myself every single day. And now I'm sitting here healthy, good food in my refrigerator. I have a roof over my head. And that is my blessing for me. And I did that because I did the steps. And when I got at step 5, then everything lifted for me, and I just went on and on and on. And it was the most important uh, experience for me. And every single day, at the end of the day, I do a grateful list, gratitude list. And I'm grateful for a lot of things that are just happening. All the little small things. I'm waking up, walking the dog, those little things, having a roof over my head. I don't need stuff. I don't need a lot of clothes like every other woman. I don't need it, because the clothes that I have are just fine. So why do I have to go shopping? Yeah, I like it. Of course I like it. I'm a girl. I like going shopping. But it's not really what is important in my life. The most important thing is my health, and that I can be there for my daughter now, that I'm gladly I can see her. We can see each other. She's not living at me at the moment just yet, but maybe in the future, if God if that's the plan for God, I will see it in the future. I don't think about it that much. I can see her. I'm a mother now. I can take care of her, and that is so beautiful. I'm so blessed to have a little girl, and it's just the world has changed for me, because I just did everything my sponsor told me to do. If he would say, well, go to there and go see that meeting, I will go there and I will see that meeting, because he knows something that I just didn't know just yet, but he did see it for me. And when he was saying things to me, my head was also always looking for an answer, and I was thinking about myself. I had to go deeper inside myself. And if your sponsor is telling you something, it always is a reason. I can tell you that, because sometimes I'm still arguing with my sponsor, and that's really funny, because nowadays when he says something, I still says, yeah, but in the big book says this, yeah, but you're saying it in your way. And in the beginning, I had a lot of things like that with my sponsor, and we laughed about it at the moment, because um, I made my own big book in the beginning, and everything that he said, I had to change. And I said, no, it's like this, it's like that, and it really wasn't. And now I can see what the big book really tells me. And every single day when I read it, because every day I'm reading the big book, and every single day when I'm reading a couple of pages, I see new things. And in the beginning of the book, they always say, well, in the beginning of the book, they will saying, read it through and through. Okay. So they're not saying it just read it once. No, read it over and over again. Because every single time you see something different in the book. And that's just amazing, because every single time when I'm reading the big book, and when they are talking about everything, there is just something else coming up. And that's just so beautiful. Now in your screen, you can see the doctor's opinion. If you want to read something, do that, because that's a beautiful piece. Because this doctor really knows what addiction is, and he knows how we are thinking. And he says to us really from, go ahead, do these steps because you need to do it. And that is just beautiful. And it's so much power in this book, not only in the doctor's opinion, but in Bill's story as well. In every story, in every single pages there is in the big book, I can see hope. I can see my future. I can see a lot of things. And I couldn't see my future anymore when I was addicted. I just wanted, didn't want it a future. And now I'm thinking about, well, where I'm going to be on a couple of years, and I'm just thinking about, oh, I want to go there, but it's not there yet, so I'll just let it pass. But I'm thinking about the future. I'm thinking about it. But I do my every single day, I will do it just day by day. And if things aren't going one day when I wanted them to go, because that is really the selfish me, then I will just pray and say, okay, that's good, maybe tomorrow. And I will just let it go, because it's God's intention for us to be, he loves me and he does everything for me, and I don't have to be troubled about thinking stuff like, oh, where I'm going to be in 3 years. No, I will see that. And it's such a relief that I don't have to be worrying about it, because I just let it over to God. Because if God wants me and he wants me to do that, that's just so beautiful, because he will show me the way. And if it's not today, well, maybe it's tomorrow, or maybe it's next week, or maybe next year. And but the letting go of that, just accepting it how it is every single day. In the beginning, it was very, very difficult for me to accept some things uh, in my life. But now I'm just saying, okay, well, if God wants that for me, that's fine, and I will just let it go, because he can see in the future for me. He knows already my path, and I don't. So I just have to follow it, and then it will come one day what he meant by it. And that's so beautiful. And because I couldn't feel any emotion when I was addicted. I didn't want to feel any emotion, because when I felt emotion, I'm becoming to become sad and sorry for myself, and it's just it's hurting. I get angry, and all these emotions I didn't want to feel. So I started to use drugs, of course, for that. But if I'm getting my drugs and don't feel anything, I'm not human anymore. I'm human. I have to feel my emotions. That's the whole point of being a human. We can feel our emotions, and that's beautiful, because if I'm emotional, I can cry now. I didn't know that crying was ever possible for me again. Now I can cry. I get emotional from other fellows that I'm going to be happy for them, or I'm feeling how sad they are, and I can feel it too, because it's emotion is the most beautiful thing, really, what there is, because it gives us uh, a feeling from being sad or being happy, and then we know that we are alive. Because when I'm feeling sad, it's okay to feel sad, and it's okay to feel happy, because that's the whole point of living. And that is just what God wants for his children, because we are his children, and we just have to listen to our father, really. That's the whole point. uh when I was a child, I listened to my father as well. Well, I'm just a grown-up child at the moment. I just have to listen to my God, and I have to listen to my father. And if I'm listening to my father, then everything is going to be just fine. And sorry for that, my telephone was ringing. And that's just okay, because I don't wanna use again, because when I'm starting to use, I cannot stop anymore. And when I'm then I have to go to a clinic again, or maybe I will be dead. I think the last one. So I just don't use anymore. And I have a beautiful life at the moment. I have a great apartment, and sorry, a great apartment, and everything in my life is good. Um, so that's just really how I want to wrap it up at the moment.
Lovely.
So yeah, thank you
Beautiful.
for everything, and thank you for having me here. And everybody, have a blessed day. Really, thank you.
Lovely stuff. Thanks so much. Thanks for being in. Thanks for taking time to carry a message of hope and freedom and courage. That was absolutely beautiful, Helena. Thank you. Yeah, I really enjoyed your share. Just a few half-time announcements. Welcome to anyone that's new. You know, sobriety is a free gift. It is a discipline. It is a commitment. But it's a wonderful way of life, as we've just heard wonderfully shared there. It is a great way of life. So if you're here and you're still using and boozing, drinking and drugging, we have a holistic solution. It's the program of action outlined in our book, Alcoholics Anonymous, often known as the Big Book, which is on the screen right now. We're currently looking at the doctor's opinion. And, I really enjoyed your share, Helena. I really, really did. There was some features of it that I found very beautiful. And you mentioned about the thinking and how our thinking can often be wrong. How true is that? And how we need to get clear thinking, and that really got me thinking, and we need to think the truth and speak the truth and walk in the truth, and we need to hear other people speak the truth, and I've needed to hear that lovely message today. That's encouraged me and cheered me to hear that message today, and you mentioned a whole lot. It was a really holistic share, I felt. And you mentioned good sponsorship. You talked about how, your sponsor faced you up, as we say in Britain, regarding your thinking and the need for a change in your thinking. We often say AA attitude adjustment. We need to change our attitude, don't we, and our thinking, and this is what happens through this process. And yeah, you also got me thinking in terms of, you mentioned about creation and the enjoyment of life, clean and sober. That also, had me contemplating and reflecting on how, when we were using and boozing, we weren't really appreciating creation, were we? We were in an altered state. And we weren't really appreciative of the wonder and beauty of creation, just how wonderful it is. And, you mentioned walking the dog in the woods, and I absolutely love dogs. I've owned a few dogs in my time as well. And it's just wonderful to be amongst nature, isn't it? So, yeah, I really enjoyed your share, and, you mentioned also about the circumstance of your illness, perhaps being preventative in terms of if you'd have used anything, you might not be here now. And things like this, that, you got me thinking about the bigger picture and the will of God, and the only solution for me, Helene, was complete abstinence, and that opens the door to a new life, and it is a commitment that we make. So yeah, it was a beautiful share. I think in terms of, just hearing, the happy, joyous and free. And, you mentioned also your morning devotions. And you also mentioned your nighttime devotions as well. And that's a really, really important part of sobriety, and it's really, really important to get the thinking right, or work to get the thinking right in the morning. Elena, you've heard me share in the past, over the years, I've seen people get really, really well in these rooms in a matter of weeks from a really dark place, if they've got the willingness and the honesty. Yeah. And if the sponsor's got a proper relationship with God and they both got the availability, I've seen folk get well in a matter of a month, really well, conversely, I've seen people get very ill in a matter of 24 hours. I worked with one person, I guess it would be 2 year and a half ago now, this example. And on one day, they did a meeting, they did the devotions in the morning, they got connected with other addicts during the day, they did a nightly inventory, they did some prayers of an evening, and they took part in their life. They had good nutrition. They had a phenomenal day. For whatever reason, the next morning, they decided not to do any step work, not to do a meeting, no morning devotions. By tea time, which for anyone that's not in Britain is around 5 o'clock, at least for me as a working class man, tea time is about 5 p.m. By tea time, they'd chased their parents out the house, their elderly parents. They'd organised someone to beat up their partner, and they were ready to kill themselves. Stark example, but an absolutely true example, and that paints a picture for me how we can get ill very quickly. If we're not willing to participate in our sobriety, we can quickly become bedeviled and confused and deluded. So, an addict dies every 8 or 9 seconds in this world of 8,000 million. So sobriety is a commitment, and it's a serious business, and it's wonderful stories like this that encourage me and strengthen me to keep on going, in this process. What do you think, Ghilene?
I think it's very important for people to be in this process. I do a lot of service as well, as you know. And yeah, if anybody can be sober, and if I can just, if I saw a lot of times I go to the homeless shelter again because there are a lot of addiction people there, and I would just talk to them, and I would just hoping that maybe one day I will have put my little seed there, and they will see the plants eventually grow, because there are the people who need a little bit of extra attention, and I will give it to them, and hopefully they will get sober and see the beauty of the world like I'm seeing it, because they are still in the black hole, and I'm trying to get there every single week, and just talk to those people and listen to them, because it's so important to help the other people in this world just need some 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 help. It's always a crying for help that I see. And if I could just get that little thing and get them to meetings and stuff like that, well, maybe it's a life-saving thing for one people. But it's very important for me to do that in just my normal routine every single week. That's really important for me.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And, a feature of this holistic program that we have outlined in the first 164 pages is very much the fellowship. Indeed, on the previous page that I've got on the screen there, that's what Silkworth talks about there at the bottom of the screen. Wilson very quickly, upon getting sober, wanted the privilege of being able to tell his story to other folk.
It says also on the page the unselfishness of these men and women, because
Yeah,
they're together. It's such a beautiful story. The
yes, and
unselfishness. Oh my God, did I ever thought that I will be unselfish? No, I always was selfish. But when I'm with my fellows and talking, because I didn't have any friends, I didn't have anybody anymore. But the people, the fellowship became my family, and became there. Some people are really close friends to me now,
yes,
because they understand me and they accept me, and yeah, that's something I need in my life.
yes, and there in this is the first page of the doctor's opinion. There, it says in the course of his third treatment, he acquired certain ideas concerning a possible means of recovery. So, and that's the beginning of it, isn't it? We get some new ideas about a possible means of recovery. That's like early on in the steps process, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, we came to believe that power greater than us could restore us to sanity. And as part of his rehabilitation, and as part of his step 3 in turning his will and life over to God, you know, he began to present his conceptions, his ideas, his new thinking, his new perceptions to
Yeah.
other alcoholics. And this was the basis of the fellowship. You know, so the essence of the fellowship is connection. You know, and that's what you're talking about. You know, and
Yeah, it's a new way of life. You started to get reborn, really. I'm not. I
and
didn't want to be.
and it,
I didn't want to be the old me. I just wanted to be. I'm now a new me.
yes, and the program is moral psychology plus divine power. That's what this program is. And if you look there, it's mentioned twice. Let me see if I can just quickly find the first reference. Where was it? Where it talks about if they're jittery and befogged. um, there it is. So at the top of that page there, it says they often require a definite hospital procedure before psychological measures can be of maximum benefit. And if we go back to the previous page, where it says we doctors, right in the middle of the screen there, we doctors have realized for a long time some form of moral psychology was of urgent importance. And then at the end of that paragraph, to apply the powers of good that lie outside of human knowledge. Well, that's a very discreet way of talking about God. That's a doctor's way of talking about God.
Yeah.
You know, powers of good that lie outside of human knowledge. So the program is moral psychology. Moral means truth, and the truth begins in the first step. If the lifestyle's unmanageable, then we're done.
Yeah.
And sharing that with another and sharing it on a regular basis in the fellowship is the key to success, because that's a honest step 1. You know, and we must keep that bedrock, that foundation of the first step in order to stay clean. You know, what do you think?
Yeah, that's great. I have to be honest every single day. If I don't, I'm not honest, and if I don't do the triangle every single day, I will fall back, because it's important that I do them every single day. Because if I just let one of them slip, I, I will go back to the dark, and I don't want to be in the dark anymore. I want to
Yeah.
be in the light.
Freely we've received, freely we give. And it says there the altruistic movement, you know, and we give completely freely our time to others. You know, Dr. Bob was said to have sponsored several thousand folk. Of course, he would get folk through the steps in the afternoon. You'd leave his office in less than 5 hours with your amends list to go and start making your amends. You know, when I work with men and women today, it's usually a 2.5, 3 week process, start to finish. We work every day for around half an hour, 40 minutes a day. They will also read each particular step out, the 12 and 12, in tandem with our work out of the big book. They'll also listen in their own time. They'll also listen to a podcast on each particular step in their own time. And that gives them a very thorough experience, you know.
Yeah, yeah, it's important to do that.
I was in this chapter yesterday with a gentleman, and in 1 hour's time, we'll be starting step 2. And we'll complete step 2 today, and tomorrow we'll complete step 3. So that will mean on Saturday, so on Sunday we'll start step 4. By Wednesday, Thursday, we'll have completed step 4 and 5. So you know, by the end of next week, we'll be well in with step sort of 8 by the end of next week, and that's been the most effective way for me, you know, to keep the consistency and the continuity, because we've got built-in forgetters. It's very easy for the ego to reconstruct if there's days in between step work, in my experience.
Yeah, yeah, you can do them very quickly if you want to, if you are willing enough to do them as well. You have to be willing enough to be in a great life, and do you really want to stop? And if you do really want to stop, then go and put some gas on the steps.
That's right. And then the best way to stay clean and sober is service and sponsorship.
Yeah.
You know, make a commitment, get a service commitment, and keep it. However you feel, keep the service commitment. That's my suggestions to folk. You know, and if you're going to sponsor someone, make sure you know what you're talking about before you start. Make sure you know what your boundaries are. Make sure you know precisely how you're going to take them through the steps. You know, I think it's a good idea to start sponsoring quickly, but it's a bad idea to start sponsoring if you're unclear. I remember I got a phone call, Ghilene, a while ago, and it was a chap I'd took through the steps. And he says, "Oh," I said, "I've got someone to sponsor." "Oh, have you? That's great." I said, "Well, when are you starting?" He said, "Oh, tonight." And this was middle of the afternoon. He said, "Oh, at 6:30. "Oh, that's great." I said, "What do you know what you're going to, how you're going to take them through, what you're going to be doing?" He says, "No." I said, "That's why I've rang you."
Yeah.
So, you know, we have
It's
obviously had
very important that you know a lot of stuff from the big book and the 12 and 12.
yeah,
And
well,
how you,
it's a huge grey area in the rooms. A lot of people don't know how to do it, and they don't like to say that. They're like, "Well, I should know how to do it quick. How should I do it?" Well, it's a big problem. We've got 3 podcasts on this channel that we did a year or 2 ago. What is sponsorship? Am I ready to become a sponsor? And how do I sponsor? So they're a resource that's on this channel. But it is a grey area. A lot of people, and they don't like to sort of reach out because when you don't hear a lot about it in meetings, you know, I think it's really important. What I often do is I'll often spend, I have a 3 or 4 part phone call series after I take someone through the steps if they wish, and to share my ideas on sponsorship and my experience, you know. So I think it is quite important to know how to sponsor, but certainly it's a great idea within a matter of weeks after you've gone through the steps. I think sometimes I suggest to some folks to reread the first 164 and reread the 12 steps out of 12 and 12 before they begin, and be clear, at least be clear how they're going to get them through the first 3, because that's going to take a few days, and in which time they can connect with their sponsor and other members about how to get them. That's when they're having their first sponsee I'm talking about, you know. But it is important, I think, because you're sharing when you're working that step with someone, you're working that step as well yourself, usually, you know.
yeah, that is correct.
You know, and I love
it's very important to know where you're talking about before you
God, yeah. I mean, God makes this possible. You know, I mean, I'm not ruling out the possibility of folks that are brand new and don't have much idea being able to open the book and share their experience. God does work like that sometimes, you know, but generally and separately, it's a good idea to have a structure and some boundaries in place, you know, and to know what your plan is to take them through the works. It's such an important matter. Mm-hmm. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure sharing with you. I think what I'll do is I'll just put on the screen for our viewers the meetings list. So there are lots and lots of wonderful meetings. There really, really are. And you can hear the message of sobriety, the message of recovery, the message of how to get and stay clean. You can get identification of problem addiction and identification of the solution of recovery by attending online meetings or face-to-face meetings. There's probably right at this moment over 500 Zoom meetings on right now, probably many more. There's probably several thousand in-person meetings taking place at this moment. So by all means, take a screenshot of this. Bear in mind, you can pause and rewind this podcast and you can distribute it to your friends. This is just some of the meetings that are available. Me and Helena are often found attending a meeting called We Can Recover, which is on 3 times a day on Zoom, 2 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9:30. The meeting ID is at the top there where it says meeting ID. There's no passcodes, that's on every day. There's also another great meeting at the top right called Daily Reprieve. That's on every single night at 9:30 UK time. And top centre there is a 24-hour meeting called the New Zealand Marathon. Very, very good meeting. It's permanently on. There's something like 14 24-hour marathon meetings on permanently. 14 different 24-hour meetings. So there's loads and loads of meetings. All the meetings on this screen are on every single day. At the bottom right is the CA UK helpline, as is the UK Samaritans number. There's a website at the top where you can, if you're in Britain, you can find out about conventions. You can also get literature, and you can also find out about online and in-person meetings. So it's been an absolute pleasure having you here this morning. I really appreciate you taking the time. It's been a pleasure to hear your message of hope. Is there anything you'd like to share with our listeners?
I would like to share, give yourself the opportunity to do it for 1 year. If you still think that sobriety isn't anything for you, you can also always get back to your drugs. But I will say, just try it for 1 year and you will see the change. Because the change you are going to get and you wanted to get it and you won't leave it anymore.
Sobriety is a commitment. It's a new way of life. It's a transformation. Begins with abstinence and continues with a simple program of action.
Yeah. And
keep
if you
coming
just
back to them. Yeah. If there's anyone struggling, feel free to comment underneath this chat or this podcast and this video. We will definitely respond and get back to you. There's a lot of help and support out there. You never need to use again. This is a program of mercy and support, and we recover best in a fellowship with other folk. You know, it's a bridge to normal living. It's a design for living that works in rough going. So it's a holistic solution, you know, and thanks, Ghilene, so much for your time today.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I did it with a lot of love for everybody. It
was so beautiful. Great share. Thanks so much. We'll be back soon with another podcast, family. Stay strong and come along to some meeting. Thanks, Ghilene. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye.